Hey there, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving deep into Keir Starmer's ambitious plans for the NHS. Plans that sound great on paper, but might leave us wondering if they're just political hot air. As Starmer tries to position himself as the saviour of the NHS, we'll explore whether his grand promises can actually translate into meaningful change, or if he's just playing a game of political chess. So stick around, because you won't want to miss this. Now, let's get right into it. Keir Starmer's relationship with the NHS has become something of a cornerstone in his political career. Much like the NHS itself, a proud yet beleaguered institution that often feels like it's teetering on the edge of collapse. As the Labour Party prepares for the upcoming general elections, Starmer has seized the opportunity to brandish his NHS commitments like a shiny sword, hoping to cut through the disillusionment that has settled over a populace increasingly wary of the healthcare system's future. The NHS, once regarded as the crown jewel of British society, now faces more issues than a tabloid has celebrity scandals, with financial struggles, overwhelming patient demands, and staffing shortages that would make even the most hardened bureaucrat break into a cold sweat. Starmer's pledge to save the NHS is reminiscent of a superhero promising to save a city while the villain runs rampant. First on his list is the ever-popular promise of increased funding. The classic political move. Starmer seems to believe that simply shouting "more money" into the void will solve the myriad problems facing the NHS. With the NHS reportedly operating under severe budget constraints, thanks in no small part to years of underfunding and mismanagement, Starmer's argument strikes a chord with those who feel their local hospitals are one step away from shuttering their doors. But wait, what's this? Where is the money supposed to come from? Starmer has floated ideas of tax reforms and reallocating government spending, which sounds wonderful in theory. Yet, one has to wonder, are we just trading one political problem for another? Next, we come to the issue of staffing, with reports indicating that the NHS is facing a staffing crisis, including an alarming number of vacancies and staff burnout. Starmer's commitment to recruit and retain more healthcare professionals is certainly commendable, but it raises an eyebrow or two. His plans for improving working conditions and enhancing training opportunities sound more like wishful thinking than a concrete plan. After all, when was the last time a bureaucrat successfully managed to improve staff morale without also handing out a raise? The simple truth is that the NHS workforce is stretched thinner than a slice of cheap bread, and simply saying, "let's hire more," feels a tad naive. Now, let's not forget about waiting times, a hot topic that resonates with patients who have felt like they're in a never-ending queue for a theme park ride that's permanently closed. Starmer has made addressing waiting times a priority, promising to streamline processes and reduce backlogs. But let's be real, how many times have we heard politicians make similar promises only to have them evaporate faster than the enthusiasm of a student on the last day of school? His commitment to tackling this issue may earn him a few brownie points, but whether he can deliver on such a grand scale remains to be seen. Mental health services also make it onto Starmer's list, which is excellent. It's high time mental health receives the attention it desperately needs. Yet, the cynic in me wonders if this is merely another talking point, a shiny bauble to dangle in front of the electorate. With mental health issues skyrocketing, especially post-pandemic, Starmer has vowed to increase funding and resources for mental health services. But will this be anything more than a hollow promise? The reality is that mental health services have long been the neglected stepchild of the NHS, and throwing money at the problem without a thoughtful strategy is like throwing confetti at a hurricane. But let's take a moment to appreciate Starmer's focus on preventative care, which is undoubtedly a step in the right direction. In a world where treating chronic conditions often takes precedence over preventing them, Starmer's push for a preventative strategy could actually save the NHS money in the long run. However, once again, the question remains, how? Will we be inundated with more government pamphlets urging us to eat our vegetables? Or will there be a genuine commitment to improving access to preventative screenings and community health services? Until he lays out a tangible plan, this remains more of a hopeful sentiment than a solid strategy. Of course, no discussion of Starmer's NHS ambitions would be complete without acknowledging the scepticism surrounding them. The financial pressures on the NHS are formidable, and it's hard not to view Starmer's ambitious plans through the lens of realism, or lack thereof. Critics are already questioning the feasibility of his promises. Is he simply throwing darts at a board of political platitudes? Many people are cautious about bold claims made by politicians, and with good reason. The NHS has been promised the world before, only to receive a half-hearted attempt at reform. Public opinion seems to be a mixed bag, with some voters genuinely supportive of increased investment in the NHS. But the sceptic in me can't help but wonder if they're buying into Starmer's lofty promises, or simply clinging to the hope that something, anything, will change. Others express doubts, worrying that Starmer's grand plans might end up being nothing more than an elaborate political theatre. The historical context of NHS funding and management has made many Britons wary of bold declarations, leading to a wait-and-see attitude among those who have heard it all before. The NHS remains one of the most pressing issues for British voters, and how Starmer navigates this topic could be a determining factor in Labour's electoral fortunes. Should he fail to deliver on his promises, the disillusionment could be palpable, leading to a loss of faith not only in him, but in the party as a whole. Conversely, successfully implementing these initiatives could bolster Labour's reputation as the party of the NHS, drawing in voters who prioritise healthcare. But let's not kid ourselves. Starmer's approach must tread a fine line between ambition and realism. The complexities of governing, especially in the context of the NHS, require not just a vision, but also a practical strategy for implementation. One can't help but question whether Starmer is ready for the reality check that awaits him if he makes it into power. The NHS is not just a campaign talking point. It's a complex system that requires careful consideration, foresight, and the ability to make tough decisions that might not always be popular. In conclusion, Keir Starmer's NHS commitments represent a critical aspect of his political strategy as he seeks to lead the Labour Party into the next general election. While his promises of increased funding, improved staffing, reduced waiting times, enhanced mental health services, and a focus on preventative care sound impressive, the practicality of delivering on these commitments is yet to be tested. As public concern over the future of the NHS continues to rise, Starmer's ability to navigate these challenges effectively will have a profound impact on his political career and the future of healthcare in the UK. Ultimately, it remains to be seen whether Starmer's promises will materialise into meaningful change, or if they will become yet another collection of political platitudes destined for the recycling bin of history. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Keir Starmer's NHS plans, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for notifications on our latest videos. Your support means a lot, and we'll see you next time.